God, I just absolutely love that scene of Mia Goth, man. She's perfect. I love her. But this film focuses on a writer named James who basically goes on vacation with his wife to find inspiration for his writing, but he ends up actually hitting a person, and everything just goes left from there on as he meets a group of people and does some pretty crazy stuff. James begins to get approached by the authorities in his hotel room one day, and they open him to the idea of cloning because all their crimes are punishable by death. And obviously, James is distraught by that, and his wife, so they don't do that. He goes the alternative route to get a clone, and basically, what happens to the clone is it basically takes in the place of the punishment that James would have endured. But James has to also sit there and watch what happens to his clone, and obviously that's disturbing to see your own self get tortured, murdered brutally right in front of you. Now, as traumatizing as this sounds, James at first, of course, is like, what the F, man? Like, this is so messed up and sickening. But he gets basically adopted into Mia Goth's group in here. Let me just say, Mia's performance in here was so good, amazing. She's amazing at everything. I just absolutely adore her. I love Mia Goth. I'm like her biggest fan. Seriously, I am. Mia, if you're ever watching this video somehow, just know I love you. And you can hit me up at any time. But, okay. So her group in here, they are a bunch of wealthy folks. So they adopt James, and he basically follows all their ideology and everything because of the peer pressure. But before I get too deep into that, I want to talk about just everything else about this film. The cinematography and the way it was shot in here with the vibrant colors during the transformation and everything, and during the whole like scene where they're on drugs and on a whole trip was absolutely great, man. Like, it's shot very well, and that's something you can't take away from this film. It's shot very good. The performances are actually done quite well. You can't really take that away from them. The dialogue in here, I mean, it's not really amazing, but it's not bad either. It's very witty, and it's very, honestly, real. Like, it's kind of just real to the point where it's kind of chilling. But as you know, this is a horror film, so the whole time the whole movie is going on, you could feel the horror. Like, even without there being much killings during certain times, it's just the whole thrill of them doing all the crimes is really what's just absolutely scary. Mia's character in here was innocent in the beginning, and that's what James basically fell for. It's an innocent girl who's playing overly friendly, gives him compliments about his work, claims to be actually a huge fan of his writing, and that's what really gets him hooked on her. Obviously, we find out later that that is not true. But so James, of course, gets manipulated by the stunning Mia Goth, and can we blame him? If Mia Goth was giving me all those compliments, I would have joined her little cult-like family too, man. I'm just saying, man. So with the James being manipulated, on top of that, he's very weak and vulnerable in here. As like I said before, he lost his inspiration for writing. He now thinks he has a super fan, so he's starting to get help, and he's basically getting manipulated and peer pressured into everything. And there's even a scene here where Mia's breastfeeding James, and a lot of people were weirded out by it, but it's actually quite symbolic as we see James becoming reborn with his new mother and new family. As stated before, these are a group of wealthy people James is associated with, so they just buy their way out of their punishment and treat this clone process like it's just a whole video game or something, man. And while we know the rich folks are getting out of situations in here, there's a lot of radicalization themes seen in here. Is that the whole group of me as a group, they are basically pushing James into breaking character into not a good side, as obviously we know as they're doing crimes and everything, and they're forcing certain ideals they believe on him. So that's one of the big things that was in here. I think a lot of people might not have caught, and that's why like it's a little hated on. Like the themes are kind of flying over a lot of people's head. I feel like in here just because of how bizarre and somewhat disturbing this film is, and it's completely understandable. But come on. One takeaway we have to get from this film is that this could become a reality in the future. As we know, wealthy people are known for having loopholes in the justice system, paying things off and whatnot, and just because money's power, and they really have all control of it. One thing I did like seeing in here was the display of James's doubles and seeing them go through basically the entire emotional spectrum us humans go through. Each one of his alternate versions go through different states of mind: fear, depression, anger, desperation, guilt, all of it. And us showing that, basically showing the psychology of James's mind but split into multiple characters, was absolutely brilliant. And it really goes to show what we basically as humans think when we might be doing something we feel wrong, but if that feels right. And he experienced all that in here. And I really liked that as well. And so basically, like I said, I don't want to cover everything, so I want you to watch this. If you haven't seen this, please watch it and then tell me what you think. I loved this movie. Mia Goth was amazing. Stan Mia Goth. Next Scream Queen. Absolute legend. I love Mia Goth. Perfect woman. So basically, I just think this film's overrated and misunderstood because the themes it was trying to portray in here really didn't get their point across because people were distracted by a lot of controversial scenes, disturbing scenes, and a lot of people felt uncomfortable during this film, which is very understandable. So that kind of deteriorated away from the themes that the director and the writers were trying to portray in here. But if you didn't like it, rewatch it, please, and think about the themes and just society with human nature, moral values, and how the rich abuse their power when giving alternative situations, such as being able to get a clone to get out of trouble, and just abusing the power and treating life like it's literally just their own personal playhouse, as it was shown here. Thanks for watching. Stan Mia Goth, next great actress.